have been angry demonstrations across the US after the Supreme Court ended a woman's constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy.
Yeah, so Texas is one of several US states with the so-called trigger law, which, once the Supreme Court handed down its decision, automatically outlawed abortion. So we're joined from San Antonio in Texas by the executive administrator of the Alamo Women's Reproductive Services Clinic, Andrea Gallegos. Good morning to you. What did that mean for your patients? Presumably there were women waiting for something that they, it's a very difficult decision to make, whether you're going to have a termination or not. They'd made that decision. At what stage were they when you said, actually, we are not allowed anymore legally to provide that to you?
Right. It was a very difficult day at the clinic. We had patients that were in our waiting room expecting to have services and either receive the medical abortion, the pill, or the surgical procedure. And unfortunately, after the decision came down and after hearing that the Texas Attorney General wanted to enforce pre-Roe law immediately, criminalizing abortion with penalties up to life in prison, we unfortunately had to let the women in our waiting room know that we were unable to see them that day. And it was utter despair, completely devastating, having the conversations with our patients and having to tell them no.
And Andrea, what next? What do these patients do? What do these women do now if they want to make the decision that they have every right to do?
Right. So unfortunately, our patients that we turned away, as well as every other woman in Texas and other conservative states that have essentially banned abortion, will have to consider traveling, possibly crossing one state, two states, sometimes more, to make the decision if they can actually do that, taking time off work, securing childcare for children they already have. A lot of times women are doing this completely alone without any additional support. And, a trip like that for a perfectly safe medical procedure that, clinics around their home states would be able to do if allowed. The alternative to that is basically a forced pregnancy, and it's really devastating that this is where we're at right now in this country.
So as it stands right now in Texas, who is entitled, which woman is entitled to have a termination, and what exemptions are there?
So the only exemption is in the case of the life of the mother to be at risk, but there's so much more to that. You basically, have to be near death in order for an abortion to be performed in the state. So the result of that is going to be poor reproductive health care for women across the state. The laws are so unclear, and there's going to be some confusion as to what OBGYNs can do for patients who are planning on having a pregnancy. A lot of times complications occur at 18, 19, 20 weeks. And if that's the case for a Texas woman, crossing state lines in order to save a woman's life may be necessary.
Well, as you say, we don't yet know what the outcomes are, but we can see from what you're saying that, it just becomes a heck of a lot more complicated and potentially risky. Andrea, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for your time.